Hello, hi there. If you're watching this video, you're probably wondering how to do a scientific model, and you probably want to do it with your young learners. It does sound scary, but it is really easy and it's very creative. So follow this video, and you can also play it to your students if you want to do a scientific model in your classroom. So let's start. Before you do the scientific model, you need to have a preparation lesson. It can be anything you want, from a project to some kind of inquiry or just discussion. We're only going to discuss the model itself, not the things that come before it. I'm going to give you a practical example. Now, listen, students. Here is one of my first models. Here is how it looks like. You can see a few pictures. I found them online. You can also see some red arrows. These red arrows connect three very important stages: before, during, and after. So as you can see in this picture, I have a situation before. You can see this picture with frost. Then we see a picture with plants that are dry, and then after, in the end, we see another picture where there is no snow. Can you make a connection? Maybe. Now, first we start from before, then we go to during, and then we go to the after part. Before is the cause. After is the effect. If you don't know what is a cause and what is the effect, please ask your teacher to explain. When you're making your model, you need to be creative. What can you do? You can take any pictures from the internet. You can take any pictures from the newspaper. You can cut them out. You can draw. You can use paint. You can use anything you want. Important things that you need to have after, before, during, and after, of course, are colors. You want your model to have some colors to make it look more connected, to make it look more logical. You also need to have some arrows and some pictures. For example, take a look at this little drawing of the sun and this little drawing of the thermometer. You don't have to be an artist. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to show logically what happens in a certain situation. Now, I'm going to just share an example of my scientific model. This scientific model is talking about seasons and irregular temperatures in a faraway country called Serbia. I'm going to explain this poster. So now, listen. Okay, let's take a look at it. And I'm only going to look at the poster and explain. First, we have a cause, which happens before. One of the causes for irregular seasons is deforestation. We already talked about it in this lesson, and we know that deforestation leads to more greenhouse gases, which you'll probably discuss with your teachers. If you live in a city, you're going to have a lot of concrete. What happens if you have a lot of concrete? You can see this temperature sign. It gets hot, right? It's really hot. Then we have an effect that happens during. It happens at the same time while you're hot in the city. At the same time, far, far away, ice is melting. And when this ice starts to melt too much, you can have a flood. If you don't know what is a flood, ask your teacher. So, what happens in your city may have an effect on another place. I know, that sounds very interesting. Another thing that happens in your city is that it gets too hot. So you can't play outside. But what is the effect of being too hot in the summer? In winter, in Serbia, in our country, so it may be different in yours, it can get really, really, really cold. Or we don't get any snow at all. If we don't get any snow, for example, in November and December, sometimes we can't play outside, right? Because there is no snow. But it is still cold and maybe icy. The final effect is, because we didn't have snow in December, for example, it is possible to have snow during spring, which is not very good for wheat and some other crops. So see, we went from causes to effects that are happening everywhere, and then we went to the present. So how are these causes going to cause the effects? You can observe any simple event. For example, if you don't buy milk, you're not going to have it in the refrigerator, and that is very simple. So you don't have to discuss anything complicated. This was just an example. Let's repeat. Make sure that you have a few colors. Make sure that you have the causes, the effects, and make sure that you have these three words: before, during, and after. If you're observing something that can be drawn, you need some pluses, arrows, and maybe little drawings of the sun or rain or something very, very simple. Again, you can collect any photos from the internet, and it doesn't have to be beautiful. It only needs to be clear. Have fun with your scientific model and make sure to explore something that happens in your country. Because if you explore something that doesn't happen in your country, it can be very difficult to understand. So explore something that happens in your country, or even better, in your city. Have fun, teachers and students, and see you. Bye!